During the 2000s, England had one of the most stacked national teams in the world. You would find elite players across every sector of the field with experience from competing for the biggest prizes at club level. Beckham, Ferdinand, Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard, Rooney all gave their best across several international tournaments, but in the end, the best this generation could achieve were two presences in the World Cup quarterfinals. Now, we all know having a golden generation doesn't guarantee trophies. Belgium in the last 10 years only achieved a bronze medal, Figo's Portugal only got a silver medal in Euro 2004, and the Netherlands from the 2000s could only make it to one World Cup final. Still, England had a much better squad on paper than any of those nations and continuously fell short in embarrassing fashion. So in this video, I'll dissect every reason why they could never reach their maximum potential and why the new English generation will finally win some silverware. So the first and most obvious reason was the pressure the players felt. Being dubbed part of a golden generation of the country that invented the sport is obviously going to turn into a burden if the players aren't strong enough mentally. And to make it worse, they had to deal with that weight since almost the very beginning of their international careers. In 2001, England were paired with Germany in the 2002 World Cup qualifying stage, and let's just say the Three Lions weren't doing too good. After losing against the Germans on their own home soil, the Three Lions needed a big win to keep their dream of qualifying alive. It was a daunting task considering that the Mannschaft were playing at an incredibly high level, but against all odds, England destroyed them 5-1 and put the entire world on notice. From that moment on, the hype became enormous, and nothing other than a title conquest would satisfy the demanding English fans. The pressure was felt numerous times, and it didn't help the English players at all. In year 2004 and in the 2006 World Cup, England got eliminated in the penalty shootout by Portugal, despite having played well in both matches. But then again, the pressure felt was far from the only cause of their failures. I mean, it wasn't like the players were scared on the field. In fact, even though there was a lot of pressure on their shoulders, the Englishmen never bothered much with what they achieved with their country. In the 2006 World Cup quarterfinals, Rooney received a red card after Ronaldo's tantrum with the referee. Who knows what England could have done if they played with 11 men, but do you really think Rooney got angry with Ronaldo? Not at all. Wayne actually talked about that incident to the media and claimed he solved the issue on the tunnel after the match. He even wished them good luck for the rest of the tournament, and that by that point, he was already focused on winning the league with United. That might seem surprising from an outside perspective, but it's completely expected considering the English players only bonded with their clubmates when they were with the national team. Later in a sit-down interview, Ferdinand, Gerrard and Lampard claimed they created cliques with their clubmates, simply because they were too afraid of letting important information slip that could hinder their chances of winning the league. Nowadays, you usually spot players from rival clubs in the Prem being friendly to each other, but back in the day, the rivalries were extremely fierce, so much so that even brothers ignored their bond during matches. Couple those two factors with pretty much every player having a big ego, and it's almost impossible that you could form any type of cohesion in the squad. Gerrard was never able to link with Lampard, Terry and Ferdinand weren't necessarily a terrible duo, but they never got along, and Scholes retired from the national team because he was being played out of position. But if Spain could achieve so much with the bulk of their squad coming out of both Real and Barca at the peak of the El Clasico rivalry, why couldn't England do the same? Well, I think the main reason has to do with the managers they had in that period. Spanish players were pretty similar to the English when it came to prioritizing their careers at club level, but with the arrival of Vicente del Bosque, the players learned to leave their club rivalries outside of La Roja's training camps. You didn't have to like your mates, but you knew you could count on them for the sake of your country. That never happened in England, not with Sven-Goran Eriksson, not with Fabio Capello, and certainly not with Steven McLaren. Besides, not a single manager could truly get the best out of that golden generation. Back in that period, England had a great abundance of centre-backs and central midfielders, but during most of the time, the Three Lions played in a 4-4-2, which didn't bring any good results, especially in their crucial bouts against Brazil, Portugal and Germany. If they played in a 3-5-2, they would have been able to accommodate all of their best players and be more defensively solid at the same time. Obviously, that never happened, and as a consequence, those players' international legacy will always be nothing more and nothing less than just a big what if. Luckily, if you're English, I don't think you'll have to live through the same decade of disappointment again. Many people said that I should have included England in this video because they're literally the biggest bottlers in international football history, but history doesn't have to repeat itself. You can clearly tell there's a big difference from England nowadays compared to the golden period in the 2000s. Players are more united, there are practically no big egos in the dressing room, and even though there is some valid criticism towards Gareth Southgate's overly defensive tactics, at the end of the day, you have to admit he's the leader that England lacked since Bobby Robson left. Under Southgate's tenure, England have come closer than ever before, and with the rise of Jude Bellingham, they'll also have a born leader well into the next 10 to 15 years. Nowadays, they still possess the best striker in the world in Harry Kane and the best defender of all time in Harry Maguire. I'm joking on that last part, but the pieces are literally all there. No egos, no big club rivalries, an equally capable group of players, and the added bonus of being in an easier landscape. It might be hard for younger generations to admit this, but the biggest national teams were way more stacked in the 2000s than in the current decade. Not that we have weaker football players, but simply due to the fact that the talent is more scattered all across the globe. England had the top France's golden generation, Spain's golden generation, Portugal's golden generation, Brazil's golden generation. I could go on, but I just don't want to say golden generation anymore. Compared to 2024, where the current nations that hold as many talented players as England are only France and Portugal. Ultimately, England could still collapse like they always did. Their media is obsessed on another level, and that could severely impact them in the foreseeable future. But I have a feeling this video will age well. Maybe not by June, maybe not by 2026, but Jude Bellingham will win an international trophy for England. But what do you think? Is England doomed to flop when it matters the most, or will they finally break their curse? Leave your opinion in the comments so we can start the discussion. And if you want to learn about the golden generation that you never heard before that failed even harder than England, click this video on the screen. I'll see you there.